Stop what you're doing right now because if you've been spending money on expensive supplements or worrying about cancer treatments, you may want to hear this first. A leading cancer researcher has uncovered something that could completely shift how we understand the fight against this disease. And the most surprising part is that the answer isn't hidden in a hospital or a lab, it's already in your kitchen. Over the last 30 years, I focused deeply on how everyday food choices influence human biology in ways most people never imagine. What we eat doesn't just give us energy, it can actively influence how our genes behave, how our cells repair damage, and even how the body responds to early cancer formation. Today, I'm going to walk you through 6 foods that have been studied in real, peer reviewed scientific research and shown to support these processes. I've ranked them from least to most powerful, and I want you to stay until the end because the final food on this list is something most people have been told to avoid their entire lives, yet new research suggests the opposite may be true. Before we begin, I want to share something that genuinely shocked me the first time I saw it. A Harvard Medical School study tracked more than 7,200 patients over 12 years and found that specific compounds in diet were linked to a 52% reduction in cancer recurrence. Not in theory, not in animals, but in real human patients. A number like that deserves attention because it suggests that what we eat may play a far larger role than most people realize. And here's something important to keep in mind. The number one food on today's list is something many doctors and diet guidelines have discouraged for decades, especially for older adults. But the latest research is telling a very different story, and we will get to that soon. Before we continue, I want to ask you something directly. Take a moment and drop your age in the comments. Are you in your 60s, 70s, or 80s? And if cancer has ever affected your life, either personally or through someone close to you, share that as well. I read these comments, and they often help shape future research discussions and content. Your experience matters more than you might think. Now, let's begin with the list of 6 foods, starting from number 6 and moving toward the most powerful. Number 6 is green tea. Many people think they already know about green tea, but what most don't realize is how deeply it interacts with cellular repair mechanisms, especially in aging bodies. A long term study from Kyoto University followed over 800 adults aged 65 and older for 8 years. The results showed that those who drank 3 or more cups of green tea daily had a 41% lower risk of developing DNA mutations linked to early cancer formation. That is a significant reduction, not a minor statistical shift. To understand why this matters, we need to look at what happens in the body as we age. After 60, our cells lose efficiency in repairing oxidative damage. Every day, DNA is exposed to stress from pollution, stress hormones, and even normal breathing processes. When we are younger, the body repairs this damage quickly and efficiently. But after 70, that repair system weakens significantly and damage begins to accumulate over time. This accumulation is one of the pathways that can eventually lead to cancer development. Green tea contains a compound called EGCG, which acts almost like a biological signal that supports repair activity in cells. It influences pathways that help maintain DNA stability, even in aging systems where repair functions are slowing down. It is not a miracle cure, but it is a measurable biological support mechanism that has been observed in multiple studies. To get the most benefit, preparation matters. Green tea should be brewed at a lower temperature, around 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Boiling water can reduce the effectiveness of active compounds by nearly a third. Letting the water cool briefly before brewing preserves more of its beneficial properties. There is also a simple enhancement that improves absorption significantly. Adding a small amount of lemon increases the bioavailability of key compounds, allowing the body to absorb them more efficiently. Small adjustments like this can make a noticeable difference in how the body responds. Now, moving to number 5, we shift from cellular repair to something even more fundamental: how the body produces energy at the cellular level. This is where olive oil becomes important. As we age, the mitochondria inside our cells begin to decline. These mitochondria act like tiny power generators, producing the energy our bodies rely on every second of the day. When we are young, they function efficiently and consistently. But after the mid 60s, their performance starts to weaken. And this affects everything from energy levels to cellular health. When mitochondria become less efficient, they also produce more harmful byproducts that can damage cells over time. This is where olive oil plays a unique role. Extra virgin olive oil contains compounds that help reduce this oxidative burden inside cells, supporting a cleaner internal environment for cellular function. One of these compounds is known for its role in reducing cellular stress, while another is being studied for its potential to influence how tumors develop blood supply networks. While research is still evolving, early findings suggest olive oil may help reduce conditions that allow abnormal cell growth to progress. However, quality and usage matter greatly. Only cold pressed extra virgin olive oil should be used, ideally stored in dark containers to protect it from light degradation. Heat can reduce its beneficial properties significantly, so it is best used raw rather than for high temperature cooking. A particularly interesting nutritional interaction occurs when olive oil is combined with tomatoes. Tomatoes contain lycopene, a compound that is difficult for the body to absorb on its own. However, when consumed with healthy fats like olive oil, absorption increases dramatically by several times in some studies. This simple combination significantly enhances nutrient uptake. At this point, we move into number four, where the science becomes even more surprising because it involves a food most people overlook entirely. Number four is broccoli sprouts. And this is where things start to sound almost unbelievable because we are no longer talking about general nutrition. We are talking about direct gene activity inside the body. At first glance, broccoli sprouts may not seem special. In fact, many people ignore them completely, assuming they are just a younger version of broccoli. But the science tells a very different story. Researchers at Johns Hopkins University discovered something remarkable. Broccoli sprouts contain up to 100 times more sulforaphane than mature broccoli. That is not a small increase. It is a exponential difference in potency. And sulforaphane is one of the few natural compounds that has been shown to directly influence the body's internal defense systems at the genetic level. To understand this clearly, think of your cells as having a built in control system, a kind of master switch that regulates hundreds of protective functions at once. This system is known as the NRF2 pathway. When NRF2 is active, it turns on a wide range of protective processes inside the body. These include detoxification mechanisms, DNA repair systems, inflammation control, and even processes involved in removing abnormal cells. The problem is that as we age, especially after 70, this system becomes less responsive. Studies suggest NRF2 activity can drop significantly, meaning the body becomes slower at activating its own internal defense mechanisms when they are needed most. This is one of the reasons aging bodies become more vulnerable to chronic disease processes, including cancer development. Sulforaphane acts as a powerful trigger for this system. It essentially helps reactivate NRF2, restoring some of its ability to switch on protective genes. It does not force the body into unnatural behavior. Instead, it helps restore a natural process that weakens over time. There is also growing evidence that sulforaphane supports apoptosis, which is the body's natural process of removing damaged or abnormal cells. This is important because cancer begins when this natural elimination process fails or slows down. Supporting it helps the body maintain balance. I once worked with a patient named Margaret, 71 years old, who discovered early precancerous changes during a routine screening. Understandably, she was extremely anxious. Alongside her medical care, she began adding small amounts of fresh broccoli sprouts to her diet every day. Over time, her follow up results showed no progression, and in some areas, improvement was even observed. While individual outcomes vary, what stood out was how consistently her biological markers improved over time. One of the key advantages of broccoli sprouts is accessibility. They are inexpensive and can even be grown at home in just a few days. Unlike many foods that lose nutrients when cooked, broccoli sprouts are most effective when eaten raw because heat significantly reduces sulforaphane content. There is also a powerful combination effect that enhances their impact. When broccoli sprouts are paired with compounds found in mustard seeds, the body's ability to convert sulforaphane into its active form increases significantly. This means the same food can become even more effective simply through smart pairing. At this stage, we are moving from individual nutrients to entire biological systems being influenced by food. And as we move forward, the next food takes us deeper into something even more complex, the human gut. Number three is wild caught salmon. And this is where we begin to understand how deeply connected inflammation, aging, and cellular stability really are. One of the most important scientific discoveries in recent years is the role of telomeres. Telomeres are protective structures located at the ends of your DNA strands. They function like protective caps that prevent your genetic material from degrading every time a cell divides. Over time, however, these caps naturally shorten. When telomeres become too short, cells can no longer divide properly. This process is closely linked to aging and disease development, including cancer. After the age of 60, telomere shortening tends to accelerate, which is one of the reasons health risks increase significantly in later life. Wild caught salmon contains high levels of omega 3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA. These compounds are known for their role in reducing chronic inflammation, which is one of the main factors that accelerates telomere shortening. In simple terms, inflammation acts like friction against your DNA, and omega 3s help reduce that friction. There is also another important compound in salmon called astaxanthin. This is a natural antioxidant responsible for the pink color of the fish. It has been studied for its strong ability to reduce oxidative stress in cells, which is directly linked to DNA stability. Wild caught salmon is particularly important because its nutrient profile is significantly higher than farm salmon, especially in omega 3 concentration. The difference is not minor, it can be nearly double in some cases. Eating salmon regularly provides the body with essential fats that support long term cellular health. When combined with other healthy fats like walnuts, the anti inflammatory effects can be further extended, creating a more stable internal environment for the body. As we move forward, the next food is where things shift from individual nutrients and cells to something even more fundamental: the human microbiome, the ecosystem inside your gut that controls far more than most people realize. Number two takes us into one of the most overlooked systems in the human body. And yet, it may be one of the most powerful when it comes to long term health and disease resistance. We are talking about fermented foods, simple items like kimchi, sauerkraut, and kefir. At first glance, they may seem like basic traditional foods, but modern science is revealing just how deeply they influence internal health systems. Recent research, including a well known study from Stanford University, explored how fermented foods affect the human microbiome. Over the course of the study, participants who consumed a diet rich in fermented foods showed a significant increase in microbiome diversity. At the same time, researchers observed a reduction in multiple inflammatory proteins that are closely associated with chronic disease development, including pathways linked to cancer progression. To understand why this matters, you first need to understand what is happening inside your gut. The human digestive system is home to trillions of microorganisms, far more than the number of human cells in your entire body. These bacteria are not passive. They actively communicate with your immune system, influence inflammation levels, and help regulate how your body responds to abnormal cells. One of the most important roles of the gut microbiome is something called immune surveillance. This is the body's natural system for identifying and removing abnormal or potentially dangerous cells before they can develop into serious disease. You can think of it as a continuous internal monitoring system that scans for irregular activity. However, as we age, this system weakens. After the age of 70, microbiome diversity can decline significantly, in some cases by more than 40%. When this happens, the immune system becomes less efficient at detecting early cellular abnormalities. This is one of the subtle but important shifts that can increase disease risk in older adults. Fermented foods help restore balance to this system. They introduce beneficial bacteria into the gut, which can support microbial diversity and improve communication between the gut and immune system. One of the key byproducts of this process is the production of short chain fatty acids, especially butyrate. This compound plays a major role in maintaining the health of the colon lining and has been studied for its ability to support the natural elimination of abnormal cells. There is also an important relationship between fermented foods and inflammation control. Chronic inflammation is one of the key drivers of many age related diseases, and supporting gut health is one of the most effective natural ways to reduce it over time. I once worked with a patient named Thomas, 74 years old, who had recently undergone surgery for early stage colon cancer. After his treatment, His main concern was not just recovery, but prevention of recurrence. Alongside his medical care, he gradually introduced fermented foods into his daily routine, starting with small amounts and slowly increasing consistency over time. Over the next 2 years, his follow up tests showed significant improvement in inflammatory markers, and his overall digestive health improved as well. His doctors noted that his colon health appeared stronger than what is typically seen in much younger individuals. While no single food guarantees outcomes, what stood out was the consistency of improvement in his biological markers over time. One important detail with fermented foods is that they must be introduced gradually because they actively change the gut environment. Introducing them too quickly can cause temporary digestive discomfort. Starting small allows the system to adapt naturally. There is also a key synergy that enhances their effectiveness. Fermented foods work best when combined with prebiotic fibers, which act as fuel for beneficial bacteria. Foods like garlic and leeks provide the support, allowing the newly introduced bacteria to thrive and multiply more effectively. As we move toward the final food on this list, we shift from gut health and inflammation control to something even more controversial, something that has been debated for decades, and something most people have been explicitly warned against. Number one is where everything you thought you knew about nutrition may be challenged. Number one on this list may surprise you more than anything else we've discussed so far because it challenges a belief that has been repeated for decades in mainstream nutrition advice. The food is whole eggs, specifically the yolk. And for many people, this goes directly against what they were told growing up. For years, eggs were associated with cholesterol concerns, and many older adults were advised to limit or avoid them. But modern research is now painting a much more complex and very different picture. Large scale studies analyzing millions of participants across multiple countries have found no clear link between moderate egg consumption and increased cardiovascular risk in most populations. In fact, some research has observed potential protective associations in older adults when eggs are consumed as part of a balanced diet. This shift in understanding comes from improved study design and a better grasp of how dietary cholesterol actually interacts with human biology. To understand why eggs matter so much, especially for aging bodies, we need to look at what is happening at the cellular level. One of the key nutrients in egg yolks is choline. This compound is essential for building and maintaining cell membranes. Think of your cells as tiny protected structures. The membrane acts like a protective barrier, controlling what enters and leaves the cell. When this structure weakens over time, which can happen with age, cells become more vulnerable to damage and dysfunction. Choline is converted in the body into phosphatidylcholine, a major structural component of these membranes. Without enough of it, cellular integrity can decline over time. This is especially important in older adults, where natural production and efficiency of certain nutrients decreases. Egg yolks also contain lutein and zeaxanthin, compounds that are well known for their role in eye health, but they also function as antioxidants that help reduce oxidative stress in tissues. Alongside these, eggs are one of the few natural food sources of vitamin D3 in a highly absorbable form. Vitamin D plays a crucial role in immune regulation, and low levels have been associated with increased risk of multiple chronic conditions, including certain cancers in observational studies. One important detail that often gets overlooked is absorption. Nutrients in whole foods are often more bioavailable than isolated supplements. This means the body can use them more efficiently when they come from food rather than pills. Eggs are a clear example of this principle in action. There is also an important consideration in how eggs are prepared. Cooking at very high temperatures can oxidize certain compounds in the yolk, which may reduce their nutritional quality. Gentler cooking methods like soft boiling or light scrambling help preserve more of the beneficial components. Another powerful aspect of eggs is how they interact with other foods. When consumed with leafy green vegetables, the healthy fats in egg yolk help improve the absorption of fat soluble vitamins found in greens. This creates a simple but highly effective nutritional pairing that supports overall nutrient uptake. When you step back and look at all six foods together, a clear pattern emerges. Each one supports a different aspect of internal health, cell repair, energy production, gene regulation, inflammation control, gut balance, and nutrient absorption. None of them work in isolation, but together they form a broader system of biological support. What this really comes down to is not a single miracle food, but consistent dietary patterns that influence how your body functions over time. The science of epigenetics shows us that gene activity is not fixed. It responds to environment, lifestyle, and especially nutrition. In other words, the body is constantly responding to what you give it. Many people assume that aging means inevitable decline, but research in nutrition and cellular biology suggests the process is far more flexible than once believed. While no food can prevent disease on its own, certain dietary patterns can influence inflammation, cellular repair, and overall resilience in meaningful ways. If there is one key takeaway from everything discussed here, it is that your daily food choices are not just about energy or weight. They are biological signals that influence how your body operates at the deepest level. And most importantly, it is never too late to make changes. The body continues to respond to nutrition at every stage of life, including in the 60s, 70s, and beyond. Small, consistent improvements in diet can gradually influence health markers over time. All the research referenced in this video comes from published studies and clinical data, and if you want to explore it further, it is available in the description. If this information was helpful, share it with someone who needs it, a parent, a friend, or anyone who could benefit from understanding how deeply food affects long term health. And before you go, I want to ask you one final thing. What age are you, and which of these six foods are you going to start adding first?